Hey everybody, I am back wrapping up February review month with one of the best rom-coms to this day, Wedding Crashers. Before I continue, please do me a huge favor and like this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this film. Have you watched it recently? And we're 22 subs away from 500. So if you haven't already, please sub to the channel. Anyway, yeah, man, I haven't seen this movie in so long, but I made sure when I watched it for the review this year, for February review month, I made sure I wanted to watch the unrated version, because it's usually more meat on the bones when it comes to things like this. So this is directed by David Dobkin, and just to reiterate, this movie had like a budget of $40 million. Now, mind you, comedy films usually don't do so well in the box office, especially R-rated comedies. But this one was so good. It had like the budget of 40 million, but it raked in the box office $288 million, and still one of the highest, highest regarded rom-com R-rated comedy films of all time. It's so good. It stars Owen Wilson as John Beckwith, Vince Vaughn as Jeremy Gray, Christopher Walken as William Cleary, Rachel McAdams as Claire Cleary, the daughter, Isla Fisher as Gloria Cleary, the youngest, Jane Seymour as Kathleen Cleary, William's wife, Ellen Albertini Dow as the grandmother, Keir O'Donnell as Todd Cleary, who for the longest time I thought was that guy who was like who played the Penguin on the Gotham TV series, not Colin Farrell. I'm talking about like in like the late 2010, or at least like the mid 2010s Gotham TV show. I swear to God, I thought that was the same guy, but no, different dude. We got Bradley Cooper as Sack Lodge, the boyfriend of Claire. And Will Ferrell as Chaz Reinhold. So, John and Jeremy are divorce mediators who as the name suggests, they're mediators between two people who are going through divorce. And they ironically spend a lot of their off time crashing weddings, hence the name. So they can sleep with bridesmaids or whoever woman that catch their eye at these weddings, and hooks up with them under the pretense of being friends of the family, or some type of elaborate disguises and backstory, which gotta admit is pretty even to this day pretty smart. Although when you think about it hard enough, it's like there is a guest list though. Like weddings normally have guest lists, so they'll just let any stranger off the street claiming to be a friend of the family and walk on in, because you don't know what kind of crazies you might be dealing with. But it's comedy, you let that part slide. But they infiltrate a lot of these weddings and they bang a lot of these hot chicks. But one night during that montage, after a moment of coitus with one of the girls, John, like the girl kind of, John let it slip that he didn't even bother to remember the girl's name, or at least confused her with somebody else. And she smartly picks up on it. It's like, so you only was half full of shit. And like he's like, yeah, he kind of just drops the facade immediately. It's like, there's no way, because he kind of reached to a point where I guess he and Jeremy have been doing this for so long, it's kind of like lost its luster a bit. And he kind of feels like he reached to that point where most dudes reach, where he just wants to find a nice girl. Because especially if he keeps going to all these weddings and actually seeing people who, well, I guess it's kind of like offset their, because if they would have just been doing their jobs, their day jobs, it can quickly turn cynical when it comes to love, or at least the whole concept of marriage. And them crashing weddings, they get the fun parts. It kind of offsets like the bad parts, where sometimes people who at first fell in love get married, but things take a turn sometimes, and they end up divorced and in their room. But John is like looking at all these weddings. It's like, man, I, kind of want to get to this kind of space myself, but Jeremy is, like, hey, we're having fun. Uh, so I got another plan cooked up. We're gonna go to these Cleary wedding. This high profile Secretary of Treasury. And so they end up going, and John catches the eye of Claire, who he's just immediately like just awestruck by. And honestly, Rachel McAdams is like still pretty doggone stunning. Especially back then. This is the mean girl we're talking about, mind you. And Jeremy caught Isla, that's the actress, Gloria, catches the eye of Jeremy. So after the wedding ceremony, they go to like the reception and everything like that. Jeremy and Gloria end up going off, near to a nearby beach. As he's laying all this like smooth talking on her, and she just jumps his bones, and they end up having sex. And afterwards, kind of realize, oh my God, she was a virgin and everything like that. So typical in female virgins, first thing they they would tend to get very attached to who they hook up with for the first time around, because oxytocin gets released and everything like that starts kicking off. But he failed to realize how freaking bonker crazy she is. And honestly, Gloria is probably my favorite character in the entire film, because like the way she plays crazy is so good and hilarious. My God, it still cracks me up. But Claire and John like connect on a very deep level, because he never really had to really lie. He pretty much can be himself with this girl, and then kind of like have like a good back and forth that he never had with other women, or he didn't let himself get that way with these other women. But Jeremy wants to go because they, as Wedding Crashers, they had this kind of like these crazy arbitrary rule books. Like one of them being like, "Oh, stage 5 clinger, we got to get out of here." But John doesn't want to go. And John, who had like a nice chat with Christopher Walken's character, was like the Cleary, William Cleary. They end up getting invited to an extended weekend at their Maryland little compound thing. And Jeremy, feeling like he's getting like his friends like abandoning the rules altogether because their wedding crashes. They don't stay longer than they have to beyond just like the wedding and ceremony, the wedding and the reception. Uh, but uh, John desperately wants to have like a connection with Claire. It really legit wants to be with her, but come to realize Sack, who names that kid Sack, but maybe it's just like a joke on the fact that he's kind of like an asshole, who's just like a bad boyfriend. Uh, 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 John requires Jeremy's help in order to get in some alone time with Claire. So Jeremy helps out by giving these eye drops to John so he can sneak it into Sack's drink, which causes him to like be very sick. All the while, another funny scene. Like I said, Gloria's my favorite character in the entire. Every time she's on screen, it's just such a fun time where she just started messing around with Jeremy while at a dinner table, and just let's just say she gets him off, unbeknownst to everybody except for maybe John, who's just like just don't even want to focus on it because he's so focused on Claire. So she's pretty much, Gloria's pretty much latched on to Jeremy as much as possible, but she was really smitten with him. So while Sack is sick, throwing up, gives John enough time to spend with Claire. And romance blooms, but Sack, being suspicious of these two who made up this stupid convoluted story about being like owners of some kind of clothing business, very tippy-toe around like the details. So Sack gets an investigator to look into these guys. And I almost forgot about the younger brother. Before I get further into it, somebody pointed this out to me, and I can't help but not unsee it. Where the younger brother of these sisters, by the way, there is an older sister, but she's the one that got married, and there's like a youngest brother out of all of them, or maybe the third oldest, because I think like Gloria's might be the youngest. But we see like the only brother, who is like a painter, but obviously like a kind of like a, what's the word? Kind of, I won't say he's screwed up in the head, but he's very. If I would have given him a title, it's kind of like he would have easily be like an emo. But not emo, but has that kind of mannerisms. Where it's like seemed like nobody understand him, and just very weird oddball kind of kid, but could like, have him come to grips with his sexuality because he has like a thing for Jeremy too. But when we see him, he's painting on the lawn, and he's dressed exactly like Gru from Despicable Me. Like, you pull it up, show the pictures side by side, he is dressed ironically like Gru before Gru was ever a thing. So somebody in this movie probably had worked on the first Despicable Me movie, and maybe subconsciously, without probably realizing it, who knows, or maybe somebody just saw Wedding Crashers, a little while coming up with the first Despicable Me film, and just adopted those clothing because it'll probably look very spot on for what they're looking at for the concept of Gru. It is just uncanny, the exact clothes. Like a live action Gru before Gru was a thing. It's kind of funny. Anyway, uh, uh, once Sack gets, I almost blanking on my favorite scene of Gloria, where she was nursing, after getting hurt by playing touch football with her family. She's nursing, Jeremy, and she put in peroxide or whatever that helps with cuts. And it's like, don't run away from me. I will find you. It's like, I love when she do that crazy face. It makes me laugh. It's like, I love this freaking character. Man, she stands out for me. And just the freak out look on Jeremy's face is like, I gotta get away from this crazy bitch. But I was so afraid of her because she looked like she would track you down. But she comes clean with Jeremy. The fact that, and this movie won't play together, because she actually did R-word him in the middle of the night, sneakily tie him to the bed and just and gag him with his own sweaty sock, and just so she can just straddle him without his consent. And it's like, man, that would not play today. But I'm so glad we got Wedding Crashers when we did, because man, it would not, half of this stuff in this movie would not have been okay to play today, because so many people are so freaking soft, for the lack of a better word, for things like this. But she comes clean to him that she wasn't exactly a virgin, and she kind of played him, but that kind of turns him on, the fact that somebody managed to get one over on him. So he immediately just falls in love. To be honest, even though there is a saying, don't stick your dick in crazy, but in all honesty, I would met somebody like Gloria personally. I was like, it's like, men get it so rarely, but it's nice where a girl kind of simps on you a bit, whereas it's like she's just so into you, where it's kind of very endearing, and it's like, how it's hard for you to not fall for a woman like that. At least, if you're not like a complete smuck and taking advantage of the situation, where you got honest, good, hardworking dude who met a girl like this, yeah. Honestly, you would cuff a girl like that, more than likely, as long as she's not like, well, depends on who you ask, because I don't think it would have been okay for a girl to just kind of take advantage of somebody like that while he's sleeping, and then somehow tie him to the bed without him knowing, and just doing what she did. But beyond that, it would have been like, yeah, I would have taken that girl, at least see where it goes, at the very least. Anyway, so the jig is up. Sack got all the information about the two guys, and William tells them to get the heck out of their presence. And of course, Claire is just like feel betrayed, like, all this complete lie. A very cliche third act breakup kind of situation. But a few months go by, John can't get Claire out of his mind, and he's trying to reach out to her, but she won't respond. And unbeknownst to John, Jeremy still was in contact with Gloria, and he continually been dating her. Matter of fact, they haven't been crashing weddings all that much, if any. After trying to attempt to crash this kind of like a dinner thing where the Clearys are going to this kind of event, Sack finds him and beats up John. John also on top of that feel hurt that Jeremy not only hide the fact that he was still in contact with Gloria, but also the fact that he doesn't want to do wedding crashes anymore because he's like he proposed to Gloria and they're getting married and he wants John to be his best man. Matter of fact, there's a scene where he says he want to ask Gloria a question, and the fact that this is what I'm talking about, you would cuff a woman like this, the fact that she just like, oh, she's so into him, she wanted to just please him, like, oh, you want to do like a threesome? There is this Brazilian woman I saw that we can just talk with her and see, and it's like, well, that's cool too, but I was actually going to ask you to marry me, kind of thing. But I was like, man, it would be lovely to have a woman like that. So John going solo to these wedding crashes, but he's not even doing it right, or he's just his heart not in it. He tries to go meet up with Jeremy's old mentor who taught him the ways of the wedding crashing, but unlike Jeremy and John, who kind of fine tune it a bit and they're a little bit more mature about it, he kind of spirals. Chaz seems like he took it way beyond what would have been like acceptable, where he doesn't even just crash weddings, he crashed funerals, where he still lives with his mom and still messing around, with women. I mean, like, somehow he's still, well, girls do usually, have their streak of dating bum dudes, but I guess he kind of got that kind of charm to him and the fact that easily taking advantage of women in either their grief or their elation during this whole wedding where love is just in the air. But it's just like, this is something like this dude hasn't like kind of matured out of this. But after trying to crash a funeral where it's like less fun, he comes to realize, I don't want to be like this. So he ends up crashing his own friend's wedding and, confesses his love to Claire and how much she means to him. Sack tries to, attack John, but Jeremy comes in the clutch and knocks his ass out. Of course, Claire, after coming to realize how much of a smuck Sack is, and after, days ago having a conversation with her father when she realized she's like really not happy with Sack and realize, he is, bad for her, and she has like a better time with John. Admittedly, they kind of resolved that. Well, in my point of view, it seems pretty quick. It's like it really isn't like a slightly longer discussion, at least a moment where like they have with each other. It's just him just doing the cliche confessing in front of a wide group of people, and she just falls for it. So after the wedding, the four end up taking a ride and they end up planning crashing weddings together as couples. And that's where the movie ends. Like I said, it's not much for me to pick apart in this film. This is just a wall-to-wall fun film. Yeah, man. It'd be hard pressed to find like that much wrong with it. There is like a couple of things. I already mentioned at least a couple. But man, it's just fun. And I highly recommend just watch the unrated version because it's just better. 9 times out of 10, the unrated version of some stuff of films turns out to be better. But yeah, man, Wedding Crashers still holds up, man. I love it. I love it. And I can't imagine how many people might have crashed weddings after watching this film. I'm curious to know if there's like people out there that actually crashed weddings and was inspired by this film, and have people after this film, at least for a while before the novelty kind of wore off, because it took the world by storm, at least a year or two after this film came out. And how many people after this film starting to, when they plan their wedding, like, okay, let's make sure that people who come to our wedding are there and that we know them. Because, like, make sure there's names on the list and everything like that, so no strangers come crashing our weddings. That level of paranoia, just to make sure, like, definitely gonna make sure no stranger crashing my wedding and try to bang my bridesmaids. Like, no, ain't happening. There had to be. Anyway, that was Wedding Crashers, and that's the end of the February review month. Next week, just to, for fun, because I never watched this film and it got so much high praise, I will be reviewing, matter of fact, I'm gonna leave it as a surprise, because it seemed like a very interesting film, obviously inspired by an anime, but all the hint I'm going to give. But I will see you guys in a little while, because I'm going to hop into Marvel Rivals to play at least a little bit of the thing to learn his gameplay. So I'll see y'all soon. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of Wedding Crashers. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody.